Well, thanks for joining me. And I hope tonight will be a really enlightening talk that, you know, some healing, some understanding, but it's going to be pretty hard. It's going to be brutal. I mean, racism, systemic racism, general everyday run of the mill racism, it's hard. It's hard to deal with. And I think a lot of times people who haven't dealt with it will sometimes turn a blind eye to it. Or they'll think they're being compassionate about it, but they're really not. And then, of course, there's a whole other group of people that just doesn't think it exists. And it does. Or they think they see something on TV that happens. The first question is, well, what did that person do to deserve it? And you get that all the time. Probably one of the biggest and most egregious acts of that kind is the whole Trayvon Martin thing. You know, I know Trayvon Martin has sort of become a symbol on both sides, which is really kind of weird how both sides have used that as a symbol. One is a symbol of this is what could happen to you just for being black. And the other side is he deserved to die. But I'm going to tell you how those kind of situations can arise just out of the blue. And he's not unique. I know they tended to, the first thing they wanted to do is find out a little bit about Trayvon Martin. And the first thing they went to was, oh, wow, he got suspended for smoking weed. And all of a sudden, to that whole contingent of people that wanted to hate him, that literally became a validation of why he should have died. Like, people don't smoke weed every day. Like, white kids don't smoke weed every day. Yeah, I see a lot of hands going up out there. And you hear it all the time. Hear it all the time. That's not unique. I mean, it's been proven over and over again with studies that black kids in school get punished more harshly than white kids. They get expelled, where a white kid might get slapped on the wrist. And those things like that just persist all the time. Then, of course, as you get older, it carries on to the legal system, to where, you know, a black man is going to get sentenced significantly worse than a white man for the same crime. Just a fact of life. It's not my opinion. Everything sort of stems from what people like to call white supremacy. White supremacy. What is white supremacy? It's literally just the white lie. You know, like 500 years ago, the Europeans essentially just created an inferior race so that they can enslave them and feel good about themselves. So turning black people into animals was, I'm not enslaving a human being, I'm enslaving an animal. And it's still, those things just linger. Those are why those things are so insidious that they just carry on forever. And that's why you have to be diligent about snuffing them out. Now I'm gonna tell you, this is unbelievable. With that same notion that black people are animals, what comes with it is they're now your beast of burden. They can stay out in the sun, 120 degrees weather, picking cotton, because they're not humans, they're animals. They can do it. That work is nothing for them. You know, so they started these rumors that, oh, wow, look how joyous the slaves are out there. They're singing in the fields. It's good. Well, of course, they're singing to sort of get through everything, of course, get through the misery. But of course, that was taken as, wow, those people can just, you know, they can just work all day long and they're just built for that. They're animals. That's what they can do. And here, in this millennium, as recently as a few years ago, med students, not just average run-of-the-mill guy who barely got in college. We're talking about med students at the University of Virginia, a respectable university, one of the top schools in this country. Med students there believed, or still believe, I should say, that black people have less pain receptors in their body. And therefore, once again, they can take more pain. So they're less likely to get prescribed pain medication. They're less likely to be listened to when they say they're in pain. And once again, this is not me just making this up out of the blue. You can literally Google it right now. University of Virginia med students believe Black people have a higher pain threshold. Why? Because they have less pain sensors in their skin, things like that. So that's how that lie from 500 years ago still persists. It's hard to get rid of those things. So the med students believe that. Just think of what Joe Jackass down the street believes. So the first thing I remember about racism, which I didn't know was racism back then, was when we were living in Germany and we were talking about the Civil War. So the teacher asked, who won the Civil War? So I didn't really know much about the Civil War. You know, I said, North or South? Who won, North or South? So I processed it as, okay, we're from Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky is in the South. That's where my family lives. Ergo, the South won. I had nothing to relate it to. So I said, the South. All the other kids in the class, they didn't know one way or the other as well. So they kind of just sat there like, you know, 50-50 chance that he's right. The teacher, however, went off. You know what? If the South won, you'd be a slave right now. Come up here and clean my shoes, boy. Come on, you're gonna be my slave today. You're gonna be my slave. And he just kept going off. He just wouldn't let it go. Now, I wasn't mad that he was calling me a slave and telling me to do things like that, because once again, at that point, only thing I could relate slave to was kids playing a game. If I hit this basket, you have to be my slave for the next 5 minutes. So I'm your slave now, what do I have to do? Okay, stand on one foot for a while. Okay, you know, scratch your head and jump in a circle. So, you know, that's what slave was to us. So him doing that to me, you know, I was mad. I had tears in my eyes. I was just mad that he was humiliating me in class. You know, he just kept on. Come up, clean my shoes, boy. We're on the playground later on. And of course, kids don't know any different. So it's like, hey, boy, you're still my slave. And next thing you know, I'm the one who gets in trouble, of course, because now I got into a fight. It went unchallenged. You know, we told our principal, Dr. Murray, and he sort of just, oh, well, he didn't mean anything by it. He's just making a joke. That was literally it. So that event's over. Probably about a year later, Roots comes out. For those who have never seen Roots, it's a story about slavery, about a family sort of trek through enslavement. And Roots comes out, and we're in there watching the movie. Now, that's the first time I got a grasp of what slavery was. That was my first grasp. It was, we're sitting here, we had to go watch it as a school. They took us to the local theater, and we had to watch it as a class. So all the classes were in there. And every time something happened on the screen, you know, something brutal that happened to one of the slaves, you know, the white kids would always turn around and go, you know, they kind of look at you like, I'm sorry. And, you know, so that was the first time I had really experienced what slavery was. You know, you see the crack of the whip and you see the dark skin splitting open and the red blood coming out. And of course, this is just dramatized. This is a movie, but still the impact of the movie and seeing, once again, seeing the big cuts on the dark skin and the blood coming out, you have the red, you know, against the black, and it just hits you, you know, and that's sort of where that emotion finally started to swell, like, oh, so Mr. Jackson thinks I'm his slave, huh? Oh, so that's what he thinks of me. And so that was my first sort of foray into, okay, I just got abused. So I'm the youngest of 5. So I have 4 older brothers. So as my brothers got older, the stories of racism started to trickle in little by little. Now, we had some when I was younger as well. I remember them somewhat. I remember, you know, the general times, but I don't remember specifics of them because I was so young. You know, we lived in Fort Benning, Georgia. And, you know, as we walk in, my father and his 5 children, the the person who owns the shop asked what we were. My dad was kind of like, what do you mean, what are we? I mean, what are you? What are you? Trying to find out what we were racially. My dad sort of looks sort of Middle Easternish. And then his kids were all sort of light. So the guy couldn't figure out what he was. So he wanted to figure out, if you're something else, I'll cut your hair. But if you're black, you will not. So my dad, of course, said, yeah, we're black. And they wouldn't cut our hair. Kicked us out, booted us out. My father's in the military. That's little by little how I started to realize how different we were. It's not that we weren't white. It's that we were black. Everyone else could sort of nudge themselves over to whiteness. We were black. Butte, Montana. And we're going to our new base. We're going to in Seattle or Tacoma. We're going to Fort Lewis. And we stop at a restaurant, broad daylight. Once again, my father's in the military. Broad daylight, we walk up to the store. I walk up to the restaurant, I should say. Open sign. Everyone's in there, packed house. We walk up there. They change the sign to closed, lock the door, and won't let us in. My dad fought in Vietnam. Came back here and couldn't get served. This restaurant is packed. Everyone's in there. Oh, we're closed. Are you? Closed for us, of course. So it's these stories like this that really get Black Americans pissed off when you see these white guys all the time are giving these rah-rah military speeches like, military, it's military or nothing. Drew Brees, my grandfathers fought in this, in World War II. Fuck you. My grandfathers fought in World War II too. Big difference is your grandfather didn't want to associate with my grandfather over there. So my grandfather had to stay in separate barracks. And then when we got back to the US, your grandfather spit on my grandfather and told my grandfather, you guys have to live here. You guys can't eat here. You guys can't do anything else. Yeah. You just fought for our country. You just put your life on the line. You just shed blood. But coming back to the US, you have no rights. So these are the stories and the feelings and the emotions that are passed down for us. Drew Brees has it passed down like, I had this glorious white grandfather who fought in the war and he came back and got celebrated and, he was over there fighting the Nazis and, yeah, you guys fought the Nazis and we came back here and fought more Nazis, American Nazis, So that was the big difference there. So that's what makes Black Americans so angry when people throw that patriotic bullshit out there all the time. Our families were just as patriotic. We just got treated differently when we came back. So that's the major difference. So that's why everyone erupted on Drew Brees, that after 4 years of the Kaepernick protests, that he still has that shallow-minded Mickey Mouse bullshit about, oh, you're disrespecting the flag. No. Kaepernick stated over and over and over again, he's protesting the treatment of Blacks here in America. How people kept trying to spin that into something military related. But once again, it goes back to people thinking that only white people fought in the war. Every World War II movie you see, glorious white guy. Every Vietnam movie you see, glorious white guys. There's 5 or 6 stories that come out every year, 5 or 6 movies that come out every year about World War II or Vietnam. And why? Because each one of those stories are different. But every time, each year that a Black movie comes out that's touching on something racial or historic, what's the first thing everyone says? Oh God, do we have to do that again? Why can't they just let it go? Why? Another story about, oh my God. Because somehow we don't have different stories according to other people. We're all lumped into doing the same thing. But the white stories, they're all different. This guy was heroic in this way. This guy was heroic in that way. This guy jumped on a grenade. This guy blew up a bridge. Everything's different. So that's why this hero line comes in of all our grandparents were heroes. What the hell were your grandparents doing at that time? That's where all this stuff starts. And once again, it's from that original lie. So we're living in Fort Knox. All of a sudden, busing starts. And so for people on here who are too young to remember, busing is literally these laws that were passed that allowed Black children to go to better schools in mostly white areas, because that's where the funding was and that's where the better schools were. So just wanted to go to better schools. That turned into the most brutal, racist crap you've ever seen. Now we're talking about kids that just wanted to go to school. So we got caught in one of those rallies one day. We were leaving Fort Knox to go to Louisville to visit family members. There's people going crazy and yelling and screaming and shouting. And here we are, a Black family right in the middle of it. We just happened to drive into it. And of course, we didn't honk our horn because busing didn't really affect us because we went to school on military bases. But of course, we were for busing because people wanted to go to better schools. So my father didn't honk his horn. So of course, we got swarmed by this angry, racist mob, and they damaged our car and they sort of just beat on the car, did all that stuff. It's terrifying, of course. It's terrifying. You're a Black family in the middle of this white mob who literally hates you. They're literally protesting that people like us in that car want to go to school with people like them. So you can't mitigate that kind of hatred. Your skin is what it is. You're Black. That's terrifying as a kid, once again, because you don't know what's going on. You still can't comprehend that kind of hatred of people hating you just because the color of your skin. You can't. You just can't comprehend it. It's like, they hate us for what? We did what? Now we're in Germany. We're living on a base in Germany. And we're living on a different base now than Mr. Jackson, who enlisted me as enslaved. So now we're on a different base now. So now we start hearing stories. Now my brothers are older and they're in high school. Now we're starting to hear different kinds of stories. And my brothers are all really sensational athletes. And two of my brothers are playing in a game one day. And one of my brothers gets called a nigger. Right there in the stands, one of the military families. So my one brother tells my other brother, and of course, they go in the stands and they start raising hell. The coach pulls them down and starts yelling at them. And, hey, be better than them, be the bigger man and forget what they're doing and da-da-da-da-da. You keep hearing these little, win one for the Gipper, rah-rah bullshit speeches. So my brother flips out and goes off on him and just cusses his ass out thoroughly. Because it's always, I'm the teenager and I'm getting in trouble because some adult called me a nigger and I fought back. So my brother's in there going off on him. And so we start to hear those kind of stories. Our Black skin does make us targets. We are just naturally disliked, all stemming from the old white lie. My brothers are traveling. I think they're still traveling as a team. They're going through Kaderbach, Germany. And this is the 70s. My brothers had these big fros and they're walking through this little German town. And that's when it starts to hit you that a lot of these people have never really seen a Black person before. So they start coming up and sampling you like you're a specimen in a zoo. They really do. They start to come up and grab your hair and touch your hair. They want to feel it, and it feels like black cotton, and they're touching you, and so they're doing all this crap, and they're literally feeling my brothers and some of the other Black guys up. Just without permission. I'm touching you. I'm feeling you up. Now, are you really a human? Then they kept going to the back of my brothers. They kept going to the back. So, if my brother's here, they just keep coming up the back. It's like, what the hell are you people doing? What the hell? You know what they're doing? They're checking to see if my brothers have fucking tails. Tails. You know why? Because back in the war, the white American GIs told all the European women that black men were animals and were devils and they literally had tails. That they're devils and they literally had tails. So if these white Europeans have no other way to verify it, it's what they've always been told. This is what the soldiers are telling them. This is what the soldiers are telling them about their other soldiers. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't they believe it? No one's going to tell something that heinous about someone who's supposedly their friend or their soldier mate. No one's going to say something like that, right? So it has to be true. So these people grow up thinking that shit is true. So they're literally filling my brothers up and some of the other black guys trying to find the tail. The 70s. Not the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s bullshit. We're talking about the 70s. And once again, this is why people get so pissed off when people say, oh shit, slavery ended in 1865. What are they doing? They've had plenty of time to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. No. Yeah, we've been basically marked for death since then. And so people have treated us like animals since then. So we get back to the US. My dad's still in the military. We go to Fort Knox. We lived at Fort Knox. So we lived there for a year. And then he had this little transition period where he's going to be in the military for about another 4 or 5 months. So by the time he got out, we would have to change schools from Fort Knox schools to go to school in Louisville. So he didn't want us to be able to change in the middle of the year. So we started schools in Louisville while he finished out his career in the military at Fort Knox. So Fort Knox is here, Louisville is here, and smack dab in the middle is Valley Station. So he figures we'll move to Valley Station. So there's a lot of people on here tonight on this talk that are from Louisville. So I just said Valley Station. So I'm sure they're perking up in their seats right now like, oh shit, what happened there? Okay, we don't know anything about Valley Station. We just know it's halfway between Louisville and Fort Knox. We've been there about a week. So my brother and I were going to play basketball. I was 13, he was 14. Our house is here. There was a school, which is used to be Stewart High School, now it's Stewart Middle School. Was probably 100 yards away from our house, maybe a little more. So we leave the house, we walk across the street. We come to a stoplight. We have to cross this street. And once we cross the street, the school is right there. Basketball courts out there. Just basic high school. So we're standing at the stoplight. My brother and I are just hanging out. All right. So we're just hanging out. 2 kids with the basketball, talking, laughing, joking. And there's a car sitting there, a pickup truck. So it's just sitting there. We're not really paying attention to it. And we're talking. And then we realize that we've been here for quite a while. Like, well, why is this car still stopped? We go to cross the street and we look up and we're like, wait a minute, they have a green light. We still have a red light. Why aren't they moving? So you start to get that little feeling like, oh shit. So we look through the window, and it's one of those scenes you only see in movies. The stereotypical redneck that you would see in a movie about the backwoods inbred people. It's one of those scenes. All of a sudden we start hearing, goddamn niggers. Goddamn niggers. Goddamn fucking niggers. So we're standing like, shit, what do we do? So we just walk around the truck and continue on to go over there to play basketball. So the truck pulls up behind us. Remember, we're 13 and 14 years old. So the truck pulls up behind us. And hold on one second, let me adjust this a little bit. Okay. All right, so So the truck pulls up behind us, and once again, you just get that eerie feeling. You're walking to play basketball, and this truck is following you slowly. So it pulls in front of us, and they stop us. So we're here. The street that we just passed is probably 20 yards away, maybe. You know, it wasn't like we were in some remote area and they had us cornered somewhere. We're right by a busy street, which would be Valley Station Road. And they get out of the car. And these are adults. There's 3 adults. They get out of the car, shotguns. They put the shotguns up to our head. They put the shotguns up to our head. They start calling us niggers and doing all that kind of stuff. Hey, you're a fucking nigger, aren't you? You're a nigger, aren't you? And they're literally asking that question. You're a fucking nigger, aren't you? Huh? Say you're a nigger. You're a fucking nigger, aren't you? So we're both just standing there, frozen. And really, you know, we literally have a shotgun pressed against your temple. So it's different than just seeing a gun somewhere. It's different than seeing a gun on TV. It's different than seeing a gun at your house. It's pointed up to your head, and you have nothing but rage coming out of the person who's holding that gun. So you don't know how that's going to turn out. So he starts just going off on us, you know. You're a fucking nigger, aren't you? Call yourself a nigger. Call yourself a nigger. I'm a nigger. Goddamn right. Say it louder. I'm a nigger. You're goddamn right. You fuck. Now call him a nigger. Call each other niggers. So, you know, this goes on for, I mean, it could have been 30 seconds. I don't know. Seemed like it was, you know, 4 hours, of course. And he's just going off on us. You know, call yourselves a nigger. We don't want you fucking monkeys out here. God damn it. Fucking neighborhood like this. Now we got to have all these fucking monkeys out here. You're a fucking monkey, aren't you? You're a fucking monkey, aren't you? Yeah, man. We're monkeys, John. You know, you want me to say you got a fucking shotgun against my head? Yeah, we're fucking monkeys. Goddamn right, you're a fucking monkey. Dance around like a monkey. Act like a monkey. Act like a fucking monkey, nigger. Act like a fucking monkey. What do you mean? Act like a fucking monkey. Ooh, ooh, ah, 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 ooh, ooh, ah, 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 ooh, ooh, ah, ah. Goddamn right, you're a fucking monkey, nigger. Ooh, ooh, ah, 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 ooh, ooh. We're 13, 14 years old. What the fuck do you think that does to a kid? What in the hell do you think that will do to someone? We're on the side of the road acting like fucking monkeys. People are passing by. They're driving by. Once again, we weren't in some remote spot somewhere. No one gave a damn. Drive by, some people would slow down, of course, like, oh, wow. Got a shotgun against these kids' heads. Have a nice day. It's gone. So we're standing on the side of the road. Just, you know, walking, you know, like, you know, literally calling each other niggers, and we're you know, walking around like monkeys and shit. It's my brother Steve and me, and you know, at that point, you literally think you're gonna die, because I mean, where do you go from there? You know, these people aren't gonna let us go. They just, you know, they're on the side of the road. We can identify them in general. You know, they have to kill us, of course. So they go on with that for a little while longer, you know, make us dance around like monkeys and all that kind of shit. So it sort of ends as quickly as it begins with, we're going to be watching you fucking niggers, okay? We don't want y'all out here. We're going to be watching you fucking niggers. And they pack it up. And then one of them gets back out, and he has this Confederate flag tattoo on his arm. He's like, kiss this flag, nigger. Kiss this flag, nigger. So he's got this sweaty ass, hairy arm with, you know, with a tattoo on it. And he's literally just, you know, coming up to us. Kiss this flag, nigger. Kiss this flag, nigger. This flag owns you, nigger. This flag owns you. You remember that. You remember that. We'll always own you. We'll always own you. Kiss the flag, nigger. I remember kissing this guy's sweaty, racist, piece of shit redneck arm. We're 13 and 14. We're 13 and 14. This guy threatened us, you know, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill your family if you guys don't get out of here, blah, blah, blah. So we go to the house down the street. It's a police officer owns. We knock on his door because we know he's a police officer. We tell him the story, and he's kind of standing there like, he had no desire at all to pursue it. But of course, he's probably thinking the same thing. Goddamn right, we don't want you out here either. So, school starts, and we're in school one day, and, well, let me back up slightly. One day we wake up, we're about to go to school, and everyone's garbage is in our yard. So everyone in the whole neighborhood took their garbage and emptied it into our yard. So our yard is just full of the neighborhood garbage. And, you know, so I started to be scared because my mother was home a lot by herself. Once again, my dad was still at Fort Knox, and then we're all in school. My oldest brothers were gone off to college, and the next three brothers, we were all in school all day. So my mom's usually there by herself. So you're scared of that. We didn't tell her about the shotgun incident because we didn't want to scare her. And, you know, I felt bad about telling anyone because, once again, as a boy, you start to feel like less than a boy. Like, why didn't I do something about it? So then you have that guilt trip of, I let this person make me call myself a nigger. I allowed this person to make me dance around like a monkey on the side of the road, and I did nothing about it. So then that fucks with your psyche, of course. That whole thing. So after the garbage incident, we're at school, and they come to our class one day, and they're like rushing us out of there. They're like, you know, they got me out of my class, they got my brother out of his class, I guess a couple of the black students. They come get us out of class, and they rush us home. So once again, the school is here, our house is here, maybe 100, 150 yards separates it, but Valley Station Road runs right in between it. So they were going to have a Klan rally. They were going to have a Klan march coming down down Valley Station Road. So they wanted to get us out of school early so that we could cross the road before that march started. So, you know, we cross the road, we get home, we see the parade go by, and you can see KKK shit on TV till the cows come home. Until you see it in person, it's a different story.